Joining us now is the U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Jerome Adams. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And clearly the virus is spreading. Who is at risk? What age group are you telling people to avoid flying, don't board that cruise, avoid crowds?
Well, great question. First of all, the coronavirus comes from a family of viruses that causes the cold, SARS, and MERS. And in most people, it's going to cause a mild flu-like syndrome. We know that no one under the age of 30 has died in South Korea. No one under the age of 50 has died in Japan. But we do know there are some high-risk groups, and we want people to be aware if they're at high risk. Seniors who have chronic medical conditions such as heart disease, lung disease, kidney disease, or they're immunosuppressed, maybe they're getting cancer treatments, actually are much more likely to get coronavirus and much more likely to have severe complications or even death.
Dr. Adams, you've been to the store lately, you've noticed masks and hand sanitizers are sold out. The big question is, do they work? Are they effective in stopping the spread of the virus?
Well, masks are not effective in preventing the general public from getting coronavirus. Most masks just protect other people from you. They don't protect you from them. And we know that if people hoard masks, they won't be available for healthcare providers. The other thing that's important for folks to know is if you don't know how to wear an N95, that cone-shaped mask, properly, people will often touch their face and increase their risk of being exposed to germs. Now, hand sanitizer does work, but it doesn't work as good as good old-fashioned hand washing. Washing your hand for 20 seconds with soap and water, making sure you're getting the front and back and in between your fingers and fingernails.
Dr. Adams, the campaign season is among us as we head up to 2020. President Trump is 73 years old. He shakes lots of hands. He interacts with thousands of people at his rally. What advice are you giving him?
Well, the advice I'm giving him is the advice I give everyone else out there. Be aware of your risk factors. Again, it's being a senior, but also having chronic medical conditions, and take precautions. Washing your hands frequently, making sure you're using hand sanitizer. If you can't wash your hands, making sure you're staying away from people who appear to be sick.
If you are under the at-risk age group, if you have travel plans coming up, what advice are you giving them, whether it comes to flights or travel?
Well, I'm answering this question for my own parents out there right now. If you are a senior and you have chronic medical conditions, now's probably the time to hunker down. I would definitely not advise taking a cruise. I would avoid a long-haul flight. If that's not essential. And again, we'd wait a couple weeks for this peak to happen. We're going to see more cases. Unfortunately, we're going to see more deaths, but we expect that, and we expect to see more diagnoses as we test more. Just chill out for a little bit, wait for us to hit the peak and for us to start to see this go back down again, and then we'll feel it's much more safe for those at-risk people to be out and about.
Speaking of more cases, New York is seeing additional cases. They're asking for more testing. Do you plan to have more people being checked as we move on?
Well, absolutely. We expect testing to go up tremendously over the next week. We went from several thousand tests last week to 1 million tests out there right now, and we expect it to be 4 million by the end of this week. So we will see more positives. We want people to be able to find out quickly if they are at risk, if their doctor thinks they need a test.
My final question for you. You are a part of the coronavirus task force, set to have a press briefing here in a very short while. Any bit of a sneak peek? What do you plan to discuss this week?
Well, one of the things we're going to be emphasizing is that we're shifting from a containment to a mitigation posture. Containment is when you're trying to keep the virus out, and that was easier to do when most of the cases were in China. It's harder to do when you've got cases all over the world: Belgium, Switzerland, Italy, South Korea. And so we want communities to be prepared. You will likely see a few coronavirus cases in your community by the time this is all said and done. But that doesn't mean that people have to be harmed, that people have to die. If we protect those who are most at risk, then we'll get through this the way we've gotten through SARS and MERS and other such problems in the past.
All right, Dr. Jerome Adams, U.S. Surgeon General, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And as you heard Dr. Adams mention a while ago, he is talking about stressing preparedness over panic, and that includes avoiding large crowds. If you happen to be sick, definitely self-quarantine yourself, but also to avoid people or close contact with those that are sick. Also, don't touch your nose, hand, and mouth, and also wash your hands